Hey everybody! With Shadowlands now officially being out and us experiencing a new chapter in Bolvar's story, I figured now is a good time to look back and discuss Bolvar Fordragon's story so far, refresh your memory a little bit in that way. If this is something you find interesting, please like and subscribe for more lore videos in the future. After King Varian Wrynn went missing under suspicious circumstances while traveling to a diplomatic summit in Theramore Isle, Stormwind was believed to be going through a state of disarray. Young Anduin was given the crown so that the order could be preserved within the kingdom of Stormwind. Highlord Bolvar Fordragon acted as Regent Lord of Stormwind on behalf of King Anduin. When Magistrate Solomon gave warnings of Blackrock orcs allying with the Black Dragonflight, Bolvar was debilitated from sending Stormwind's thinly spread troops to aid Lakeshire without proof. He sent alliance adventurers to Lady Prestor, who knew much about dragons and their kin. However, she thought very little of Solomon's claims and advised against providing military aid. Even though Bolvar respected Lady Prestor's stance, he could not let Solomon's plight go unheeded and thought of a compromise to appease all parties. It was then when Bolvar deputized alliance adventurers and empowered them to solve Solomon's problem. When Jaina Proudmoore found evidence of the Defias Brotherhood being involved in King Varian's disappearance and had a powerful ally in Stormwind, she sent that evidence to Bolvar. With their newfound patronage and apparent role in the king's disappearance, Bolvar saw no choice but to plan a new offensive against the Defias. While he sought to pursue the Defias and their backers until King Varian's return, Lady Prestor tried to belittle the issue as just a baseless speculation and waste of resources. When Varian Ring eventually returned to Stormwind, being freed from captivity, he acted strangely, and through a lot of investigation, Bolvar and a few others found out that this wasn't the real king. He had been replaced by a copy, a pawn to the Broodmother Onyxia. Eventually, Bolvar found out that Lady Prestor was actually Onyxia in disguise, unwillingly becoming her pawn, with his mind and body being held captive after receiving an amulet from her. Eventually, he broke free and recruited alliance adventurers to take her down. Upon King Varian Wrynn's return, Bolvar aided the defense of Stormwind against a surprise attack by the Scourge. Afterwards, he led the armies of the Alliance to Northrend, where he aids Alliance heroes and soldiers in defeating the Lich Thelzan, the Duskbringer. In a bold maneuver, his forces laid siege to Angrathar the Wrathgate, a rear entrance to Icecrown Citadel. Both Bolvar and Dranosh Sourfang, commander of the Horde's Korkron vanguard, confronted the Lich King himself with both Alliance and Horde armies in battle. During the encounter, Sourfang fell to Frostmourne. A plague explosion rang out among the Alliance and Horde army because of Grand Apothecary Putris, announcing to the Scourge leader that the Forsaken had neither forgotten nor forgiven him. With that, a number of catapults started firing plague canisters on both Alliance and Horde forces, as well as the Scourge. Bolvar ordered his troops to fall back, but was brought down by the gas. As he gasped his last breaths, Alexstrasza the Lifebinder and her red dragons arrived and breathed cleansing flames across the battlefield, searing away the poison, leaving nothing but charred remains.
We're finished. No escape for any of us.
As the forces of the Horde and Alliance fought their way through Northrend and eventually Icecrown Citadel, it was revealed that Bolvar had been captured by the Scourge. The flames of Alexstrasza saved his life but horribly charred him at the same time. He was tortured by the Lich King, but Bolvar never yielded, and he can be seen during the final fight with the Lich King, chained to a block of ice above the frozen throne. After Arthas Menethil, the Lich King, was slain, the spirit of King Taranas warned that an uncontrolled Scourge would be all the more dangerous, and that for the good of Azeroth there must always be a Lich King. Tirion Fordring decided that he should be the one taking Arthas' place and keep the Scourge in check, but Bolvar intervened. Calling from his seat upon the frozen throne, his body warped by the Red Dragonflight's fire. As a last act of service to Azeroth, Bolvar asked Tirion to place the Helm of Domination on him. As the self-appointed Jailer of the Damned, Bolvar sought to keep the Scourge under control. As he encased himself and the frozen throne in ice, he warned Tirion that no one could know what happened to him, and instructed him to tell everyone that the Lich King is dead, and Bolvar Fordragon died with him.
Place the crown upon my head, Tyrion. Forevermore, I will be the jailer of the damned.
No, old friend. I cannot.
Do it, Tyrion! You and these brave heroes have your own destinies to fulfill. This last act of service is mine. I must be forgotten, Tyrion. If the world is to live free from the tyranny of fear, they must never know is dead. And Bolvar Fordragon died with him.
Before the Third War, Bolvar had sent his only daughter, Talia, away to Kul Tiras to keep her safe, and that was the last she had seen of her father. All she got told about her father's fate was that he died fighting the Lich King. Several years before the third invasion of the Burning Legion, Liandra Sunstrider traveled to Icecrown to locate fellow Malorn, and was killed by the remaining Scourge within the Citadel when a mage adventurer arrived on the request of Arthas Sunreaver to locate Liandra and fellow Malorn. Bolvar states that the mage can try to take the sword, but if they fail, they too will join the Scourge. The Lich King and the Knights of the Ebon Blade come to an agreement. The Death Knights will serve as an arm for his vengeance against the Legion, and in return, he will keep the Scourge contained in Northrend, and help the Death Knights locate powerful weapons to combat the demonic invasion. He directs Death Knights to Apocalypse and the Maw of the Damned, but is heavily involved in the Blades of the Fallen Prince, calling a champion of the Death Knights to Icecrown. He has the champion gather the shards of Frostmourne, defeat tortured souls that remained within the shards, and reforge them into 2 new blades. As one final test, the champion must enter the blades and quell the darkness inside. Within the shards of Frostmourne, echoes of Ner'zhul and Arthas can be found, with Ner'zhul tempting Arthas to take up Frostmourne. As each of the 3 artifacts are obtained, Bolvar brings the Death Knights to the Frozen Throne, and bestows his blessing upon them. Under Bolvar's orders, the Ebon Blade are to follow the artifact wielder's orders as if they were his own. The Lich King exclaims that the greatest heroes of Azeroth have gathered to face the Burning Legion. Of course, heroes that stand alone against this threat will not save Azeroth for salvation, will come at a price that the living could not pay. He thought of planning to recreate the 4 horsemen for their own stand against the Legion. The first among them is Nazgrim, fallen general of the Horde, followed by Thoras Trollbane, upon the cliffs of Arathor in the fallen kingdom of Stromgarde. For his prowess, strength in battle was without rival, and shall be even more powerful in undeath. Then High Inquisitor Whitemane, to his knowledge, was a priest whose personal tragedy forged an intense connection with the light, and her zealous power of will is necessary to strengthen the bond of the 4. Yet there was one who needed to be appointed for the crucial role, someone to lead. Without a leader, there will be no unity among the 4. The Deathlord Darien and the 3 horsemen traveled to Light's Hope Chapel to recover the body of Tyrion Fordring, who had recently fallen in action, and brought to the tomb underneath the chapel. In the end they failed, and with Darien's sacrifice, he opened a death gate back to Icarus. The 4 horsemen were assembled, with Darien leading them. The Deathlord returned to Icecrown to claim Rimefang's harness, but the Lich King explained that invading Vrykul were trying to use it to bind frostworms to their will. He ordered the Deathlord to slay them in his name. Atop of Icarus, he tells the Deathlord that the Helm of Domination showed him many things that he could not comprehend. In a vision, he saw thousands of undead marching to the far reaches of Northrend in search of great power. Every time he reached out through the cold tendril of endless ice, he sensed nothing. He then tells the Deathlord to go to the end reaches of Icecrown to be shown of what he saw. Once there, he described it as the undead swarming across an icy shelf, seeking a prize coveted by Arthas, the bones of a dragon most ancient and powerful beyond reckoning. Yet all that remains here is the sea, and he does not sense any trace of undead in the area. Curious, he told the Deathlord to go seek out the dragons that reside at Wyrmrest Temple, the bronze dragon Tizormu. After strangulating the dragon, Tariolstraz of the Red Dragonflight hurls the Deathlord out of Wyrmrest. The Lich King then says that the Dragonflights know something, for they kept secrets within the Ruby Sanctum. He proclaimed to the Deathlord, either spare the dragons or slay them. If you do end up killing them all, he mentions that you are empty inside, just like him. The red dragon named Kiranastraz fell doing battle with a great corruption on an iceberg to the north. The Lich King tells the Deathlord to find it and consume the life essence, blight it, and raise it into undeath. He comments when the Deathlord arrives at the Lost Glacier that their supplies have likely frozen. Interestingly enough, he senses feral undead buried in the ice and declares it is time to test the Deathlord's will. He warns that should the Deathlord fail to survive, he shall claim Icarus as his own. Though while Arthas may have sought revenge on the Citadel, Bolvar has other plans. Upon arriving at Kiranastraz's rest, the Deathlord approaches the corpse of the ancient dragon on the hilltop and felt as though it reminded them of something what happened in the past. They then raised it and claimed it as their own. During the Fourth War in the Battle of Azeroth expansion, believing that he would need more Death Knights for a battle yet to come, Bolvar had the 4 horsemen acquire fallen champions of both Horde and Alliance and raise a new generation of Death Knights. He told these Death Knights that it was their burden and privilege to defend Azeroth while being forced to endure the scorn of the ignorant. In the We Ride Forth story, believing that Sylvanas Windrunner would seek to become the Lich King, Bolvar employed a daring gambit. He deceived the 4 horsemen into thinking that he had fallen under the dark powers of the Lich King, so that when Sylvanas inevitably confronted him, the horsemen would arrive soon after and finish off the winner. When Darien prematurely attempted to kill him, Bolvar forcibly controlled the former's body and made him return to Icarus, the Ebonhold, while taunting him about requiring his fellow horsemen. As he anticipated, Darien rallied his fellow horsemen into battle. While he was confronted by Sylvanas, unbeknownst to Bolvar, the horsemen were able to use their connection with him to witness him fighting Sylvanas, and subsequently learned about this gambit. After being defeated by Sylvanas, Nazgrim and Whitemane brought Bolvar to the Ebonhold. Bolvar's daughter Talia learned that he was still alive, and had been the Lich King until now. She vowed to join her father's side. After the rift between the Shadowlands and Azeroth had been opened, members of the Alliance and Horde were called to Icecrown Citadel. Aboard the Acheris Necropolis, them and Lord Darian Mograine went atop the Citadel, where the rest of the Knights of the Ebon Blade and their leader, Highlord Bolvar Fordragon, were waiting. The High Lord explained how dire the situation was and directed the adventurers to use the shattered fragments of the Helm of Domination to conjure a portal into the forbidden depths of the Maw. Bolvar later managed to travel to Oribos alongside Darian and the other Ebon Blade Death Knights. And where this story is going to go, we'll find out throughout the Shadowlands expansion. I am super stoked to see where this is going as we unlock more of the story of this expansion. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and if you have any character you want me to make a lore breakdown on next, hit me up in the comments. See you next time. Goodbye.